We've all heard the stories. The ones about selling your soul to dark forces in exchange for power, wealth, or fame. It's an ancient concept, one that's captivated humanity for centuries, from Faustian legends to modern-day references in music and pop culture. But in the spiritual world, the stakes seem even higher, don't they? When we talk about the soul, we're discussing the very essence of who we are, something so deeply sacred, yet so profoundly mysterious. So I understand why some of you may wonder, is it truly possible to sell your soul to dark forces in exchange for something as elusive as high vibration? And even more importantly, would such an exchange even make sense? Let's take a moment to really pause and think about what we mean by high vibration in spiritual circles. High vibration is often associated with states of love, peace, joy, and enlightenment, those moments when we feel deeply connected to the universe, to something greater than ourselves. It's a state of being that transcends the ego, where we align with the higher dimensions of consciousness. But here's the question we need to ask ourselves: can something dark, something that thrives in fear, manipulation, and control truly elevate us to such a state of high vibration? We need to approach this question carefully, because it touches on some of the most fundamental principles of spiritual growth. It's easy to get caught up in the allure of shortcuts, especially in a world where instant gratification is the norm. You might think, if I can just tap into some hidden, forbidden power, maybe I can bypass all the hard work of personal growth, meditation, and self-discipline. Maybe I can elevate myself instantly, but is that really how the universe works?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let's consider the nature of dark forces for a moment. What do we mean by dark forces? Some might imagine demons or malevolent spirits, while others might think of negative energies or lower vibrational entities. But at their core, dark forces are those that thrive on separation, on disconnection from the source, from love, from unity. They operate in fear, greed, and control, feeding off the lower emotions that keep us trapped in the ego. Now, if we're seeking high vibration, which is all about unity, love, and connection, how could aligning ourselves with forces that thrive on the opposite possibly lead us to where we want to go? Here's where things get interesting. Some people believe that by making a pact with dark forces, they can receive power, knowledge, or abilities that will help them rise above their current state of consciousness. And in some cases, they might experience a temporary surge in energy or power. But what kind of power is this? Is it the power of true enlightenment, or is it the power of manipulation, control, and ego? And more importantly, what's the cost? When we talk about selling the soul, we're talking about something profound. The soul is the eternal part of us, the aspect of our being that is directly connected to the divine. It's the essence of who we are. To sell it would be to sever that connection, to willingly disconnect from the very source of life and love. And while dark forces might offer you something in return, whether it's power, knowledge, or even a sense of heightened energy, this comes at a steep price. Because what good is power if it comes from a place of fear and control? What good is knowledge if it disconnects you from love and unity? And what good is a temporary surge in energy if it leaves you spiritually bankrupt in the long run? Let me ask you this: can you truly elevate your vibration by aligning yourself with forces that are inherently lower in vibration? This is where we need to dig deeper. Vibrational energy is not just about how much power you have or how much energy you can channel. It's about the quality of that energy. High vibrational energy is pure. It's aligned with the highest aspects of love, compassion, and unity. It's the energy that heals, that connects, that uplifts. Dark forces, on the other hand, operate in the realm of low vibrational energy, fear, control, manipulation. And while they might offer you a temporary boost, it's like drinking from a poisoned chalice. The more you take, the more it corrodes your soul. Now, some of you might be thinking, but what if I don't care about love or unity? What if I just want power or control or to experience something extraordinary, even if it's dark? And that's a valid question. We all have free will, and we can choose the path we walk. But here's the thing, even if you obtain what you're seeking, whether it's power, wealth, or some other form of material or energetic gain, will it truly satisfy the deepest part of you? Or will it leave you feeling more empty, more disconnected, more lost than before? You see, the soul craves connection. It craves unity with the divine, with the universe, with love. When we chase after power for its own sake, or when we seek shortcuts to avoid the hard work of spiritual growth, we may find ourselves achieving temporary success. But it's like building a house on a foundation of sand. Eventually it crumbles, and when it does, we're left feeling more empty than before. So, is it possible to sell your soul to dark forces to get high vibration? Technically, yes, you can make a pact with dark forces, and in exchange, they may grant you some form of power or energy. But the real question is, what kind of vibration are you seeking? If you're looking for true high vibration, the kind that comes from love, peace, and unity, dark forces will never be able to give you that. At best, they can offer you a counterfeit version, something that may feel powerful in the moment, but ultimately leaves you more disconnected from your true self. Instead of seeking shortcuts, we need to embrace the path of true spiritual growth. This path isn't always easy. It requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to face our shadows. But in doing so, we align ourselves with the highest aspects of the universe, with love, with truth, with unity. And in that alignment, we find a vibration that is not only high, but eternal. As we close this part of our journey, I want to leave you with a question: what are you truly seeking? Power or peace? Control or connection? The illusion of power. Can dark forces truly elevate you spiritually? So we've talked about the idea of making a pact with dark forces and the kind of exchange that might take place. Yes, you might receive some form of power or knowledge, but we've also touched on the fact that this power is not the kind that leads to true spiritual elevation. It's not the kind of energy that resonates with love, compassion, or unity. But here's the thing: for many people, the allure of power is strong enough to make them overlook that distinction. And why wouldn't it be? In a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, the promise of control can be incredibly tempting. But let's look at that more closely. Is power for its own sake really what you're after? Or is it something deeper? And more importantly, does power actually lead to freedom? Or does it create a new kind of bondage? Think about this when we talk about power, especially the kind that dark forces might offer. We're usually talking about a form of dominance over others, over circumstances, maybe even over ourselves. It's the kind of power that comes from manipulation or control. But what happens when we try to control something? The more we try to hold on, the more we become enslaved by what we're trying to control. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how tightly you grip, the water slips through your fingers. Control is an illusion, and the more you chase it, the more you become trapped by it. Now let's tie this back to the concept of high vibration. High vibration is about freedom. It's about expansion. It's about letting go of the things that weigh you down and rising to a state where you're aligned with the flow of the universe. You can't force that kind of connection. You can't control it. It's something that happens naturally when you're in a state of openness, trust, and surrender. So when you seek power through dark forces, you're actually moving in the opposite direction toward contraction, fear, and control. You might feel powerful in the moment, but it's a false power, one that ultimately keeps you from experiencing the true freedom of a high vibrational state. Let's take a step back and ask a different question. Why would dark forces even be interested in making a pact with you in the first place? What do they stand to gain? If these forces thrive on fear, manipulation, and control, then what they're really after is your energy. They feed off lower vibrational states, and by entering into a pact with them, you're essentially agreeing to feed them with your energy. So while you might get something in return, some temporary boost in power or knowledge, you're also giving something away. And what you're giving away is far more valuable than anything you could gain from the exchange. You're giving away your freedom, your connection to love, your alignment with the higher aspects of your being. Is it worth it? There's a reason why the idea of selling your soul has always carried such a heavy weight. It's not just a metaphor. When you align yourself with dark forces, you're making a choice to disconnect from the source of true power, which is love. And that disconnection comes with consequences. You might feel powerful for a while, but over time you'll start to notice that something is missing. You'll feel a sense of emptiness, of dissatisfaction, of restlessness. Because deep down, you know that the power you've gained isn't real. It's borrowed. And it comes with strings attached. But here's where things get tricky. Some people might say, okay, I get it. Power isn't the same as freedom, and dark forces can't give me true high vibration. But what if I don't care about that? What if I just want to experience something extraordinary, even if it's dark? That's a valid question, and it's one that gets to the heart of what we're really talking about here. Are you willing to sacrifice connection, love, and freedom for the sake of experiencing something extraordinary, even if it's temporary, even if it's ultimately destructive? Let's explore that further. Imagine you've made the pact. You've gained the knowledge or power that dark forces promised you. Maybe you can manipulate energy in ways you couldn't before. Maybe you can influence people or situations in ways that seem almost supernatural. For a while, it feels exhilarating. You feel like you've tapped into something forbidden, something secret. But then, something shifts. You start to notice that the power you've gained isn't as fulfilling as you thought it would be. It doesn't bring you the peace or happiness you were hoping for. Instead, it brings more fear, more anxiety, more restlessness. You find yourself constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering if the forces you've aligned with are now controlling you more than you're controlling them. And that's the catch. When you enter into a pact with dark forces, you're not the one in control. They are. You might feel like you're calling the shots for a while, but in reality, you've given up your sovereignty. You've handed over your freedom in exchange for something that was never truly yours to begin with. And here's the kicker: the more you try to hold on to that power, the more you become enslaved by it. So let's ask a different question. What is the ultimate goal of your spiritual journey? Is it to gain power? Is it to control others or circumstances? Or is it to experience true freedom, true connection, true love? Because if it's the latter, then dark forces can't give you that. They can only offer you a counterfeit version, one that feels powerful in the moment, but ultimately leaves you more disconnected from yourself and the universe. We need to get real about what we're actually seeking. If you're looking for high vibration, for true spiritual elevation, then you can't take shortcuts. You can't bypass the hard work of self-awareness, compassion, and love. Dark forces might offer you a way to skip the line, but what they're really doing is leading you down a path of deeper disconnection. And the further you go down that path, the harder it becomes to find your way back. But here's the good news: you don't need to make a pact with dark forces to experience extraordinary things. The universe is full of mystery, wonder, and awe. When you align yourself with love, with unity, with the higher aspects of consciousness, you start to experience things that are far more extraordinary than anything dark forces could ever offer. You start to tap into the infinite, into the divine, into the true source of power. And that power doesn't come with strings attached. It doesn't enslave you. It frees you. So is it possible to sell your soul to dark forces to get high vibration? Yes, but it's a false promise. It's an illusion. The real path to high vibration isn't through manipulation, control, or fear. It's through love, surrender, and connection. Before we move on, let me ask you this: are you willing to trade something eternal for something temporary? The unbreakable connection: why your soul can't truly be sold. So far, we've explored the question of whether it's possible to sell your soul to dark forces, and whether such a deal could lead to a high vibrational state. We've seen that while dark forces might offer power or knowledge, the energy they provide is not aligned with love, unity, or true spiritual freedom. But now we need to take a deeper look at the very premise of selling your soul. Can your soul actually be sold? Is it even possible to sever the connection between you and the divine? When we talk about the soul, we're talking about something that transcends the material world. Your soul is not a commodity. It's not something that can be traded, bought, or sold. It's the eternal essence of who you are. It's your direct connection to the source of all life, to the infinite consciousness that some call God, the universe, or the divine. And here's the thing: that connection is unbreakable. It might feel like we can lose it, or that we can trade it away, but in reality, the soul is always connected to the source. It's the core of our being, and no pact, no deal, no dark force can truly sever that connection. But why do so many stories and myths suggest otherwise? Why do we have this idea that we can sell our souls in exchange for something we desire? The answer lies in the nature of fear and illusion. Dark forces thrive on fear, and one of the deepest fears humans have is the fear of losing our connection to something greater than ourselves. The idea of selling your soul plays on that fear. It suggests that it's possible to become so lost, so disconnected, that you can never find your way back. But this is an illusion. It's a trick of the mind, a distortion of reality. Let's break this down. When someone feels like they've sold their soul, what's really happening? It's not that the soul is literally being handed over to some dark entity. What's happening is that the person is choosing to align themselves with lower vibrational energies: fear, greed, control, rather than with the higher vibrational energies of love, compassion, and unity. In making that choice, they may feel disconnected from their true self, from their soul. But that disconnection is not permanent. It's not real. It's a temporary shift in focus, in perception. The soul itself remains untouched, pure and connected to the divine. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing in a room filled with light. The light represents your connection to the divine, to your soul. Now imagine you close your eyes. The light is still there, but you can't see it anymore. You feel like you're in darkness, but the truth is, the light never went away. It's still shining, still illuminating the room. All you have to do is open your eyes again, and the light is there. That's what it's like with your soul. You can choose to close your eyes to it, to turn away from it, but the connection is never truly lost. You can always return to it. You can always open your eyes again. Now, some of you might be wondering if the connection to the soul is unbreakable. Why do people feel so lost when they turn to dark forces? Why do they experience such deep feelings of fear and emptiness? The answer lies in the nature of spiritual alignment. When we align ourselves with low vibrational energies, we're essentially choosing to focus on the aspects of reality that are based in fear, separation, and control. These energies create a sense of disconnection, not because the connection is actually lost, but because our perception becomes clouded. We start to believe the illusion that we're separate from the divine, that we're alone, that we've lost our way. And that belief can be incredibly powerful. It can shape our entire experience of reality. But here's the thing: beliefs can change. Just as you can choose to align yourself with fear and separation, you can choose to realign yourself with love and unity. The moment you do, the illusion of disconnection begins to fade. You start to remember who you are. You start to feel the presence of your soul again. And in that remembering, you realize that you were never truly lost in the first place. Now, let's address something important. Why do so many people seek out dark forces in the first place? What drives someone to make that kind of pact, to even consider selling their soul? Often it's because they're searching for something they believe they can't find within themselves. They're looking for power, knowledge, or experiences that they think are outside of their reach. They feel limited, trapped by their circumstances, and they believe that by turning to something external, something dark and mysterious, they can escape those limitations. But the truth is, everything we need for true spiritual growth and elevation is already within us. The soul is the source of infinite power, infinite knowledge, infinite love. We don't need to look outside of ourselves for those things. We don't need to make a pact with forces that thrive on fear and manipulation. We just need to reconnect with who we truly are. The first step is to recognize that the power they hold over you is only as strong as the belief you give it. If you believe that you've sold your soul, if you believe that you're trapped, then that belief will shape your experience. But the moment you challenge that belief, the moment you decide to realign yourself with love, with your true self, the illusion starts to crumble. You can break free from any pact, any agreement, any alignment with dark forces simply by choosing to return to your soul, to your connection with the divine. This isn't about fighting or resisting dark forces. It's about transcending them. It's about shifting your focus away from fear and control and toward love and unity. The moment you do that, the power dark forces have over you begins to dissolve. They can't thrive in an environment of love and light. Their influence fades when you stop feeding them with fear and start aligning yourself with the higher vibrations of your soul. This brings us to an important realization: your soul can't be sold because it's not something that can be owned or controlled. It's the eternal part of you, the part that is always connected to the divine. No matter what choices you've made, no matter how far you feel you've strayed, that connection is always there, waiting for you to recognize it. And once you do, the illusion of separation begins to fall away. As we wrap up, consider this: if your soul is eternal, unbreakable, and always connected to the source, what does that say about your true nature? The answer is simple but profound. You are more powerful than any dark force, more connected than any illusion of separation, and more loved than you can possibly imagine.